You are now old and grumpy. Your knees don't work like they used to, and you feel hungry and dehydrated. And worst of all, the airport that you're in right now is absurdly crowded to the point where your five senses are attacked. But somehow, you distinguish a familiar shape afar. A young girl, 13 years old at most, playing the free-to-use piano. The rhythm is flawed, the piano is untuned, and there are some wrong notes, but despite all of that, the memories start flowing right back in your brain. You used to be the little girl, playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star until you got good enough to play Moonlight Sonata. With a side smile on your face, you wonder if after all those years you're still able to play. You haven't touched a single instrument in over 30 years, and you wonder why you stopped back then. Maybe your career was taking too much space in your life, to the point where you had to let go of your passion. Passion. Interesting choice of words. If it was really your passion, it wouldn't fade like that, right? And just like that, boom, curiosity was created. So let's rewind a bit, shall we? In order for passion to flourish, it needs to be planted. Either you started because you discovered it spontaneously, or because you heard that Jessica really liked skateboarders, or because your parents are pushing down their own dreams into you at a young age, because life got to them and they wanted to live through you in a way. The reasons may differ, but the end result is pretty much the same. You now have something to do. Then your passion needs to be watered. We sometimes remember the first time we touched an instrument, a ball, what our first text or plays looked like. We might even remember the first movie that we made on our parents' camera. But that wasn't it. It sure may have started like that, but it's not through these that passion actually got us. Passion gets to you later on. It's the first reward. A dopamine rush so intense, so pure. It feels like being born for the second time. That was the turning point. That was the moment where you knew that you were made for it. And your brain, being itself, will somehow associate that pleasure to something good for you. And then it will crave for more. Then we grow it. Working on your passion is essential. If you spot your mistakes and correct them over time, you will get better. If you draw 1,000 faces, you will get better at drawing faces. If you play the guitar riff over and over again, you will finally master it. And what you're left with is a skill driven by personal purpose. Unfortunately, as entertaining and purpose-driven as it may be, passion also has its own flaws. Passion fades and dies. It's been a few weeks now, and you still didn't master that symphony that you planned on learning. What happened to you? You did a really good job with that choreography, but it wasn't daring enough. You haven't written in a few weeks now. Did you lose your inspiration? You slowed down. You're not as good as you used to, and you don't seem to be able to change that. It's true that you didn't train this week, but you had exams, and your mother always tells you that studying is more important than anything else. She must be right. And after all, 2 hours a week is enough compared to the last 5. You can put it off. But this time, you didn't. You finished 4th. When you always finish either 1st or 2nd. You, to whom things always came so easily regarding that subject. The lack of discipline got to you. After this excruciating realization, you're faced with 2 choices. Either making sure that this mistake never ever happens again, because your whole ego requires you to be good at this precise subject, otherwise you're absolutely nothing and no one. Or that it actually was your wake-up call, and that more important things are ahead of you in life, and that it was just a waste of time all along. So you're either correcting your mistakes and not giving up, even though it can be time-consuming in the long run, or change your prioritization to fit other goals in your life that require you to be 100% focused on them. How ironic is that? Your passion is actually burning you. There are no good and bad choices here. Passions are born and fade away in life. It's your call, and your call only, to determine if you're ready to change the soil and give it another go, or let it die in peace. But not giving up induces another type of problem. Say, you did some good efforts and produced some decent art project, but it's not good enough for you, and you suddenly feel a little weight on your shoulder. Every last piece has to be perfect. Your form, ideas, and execution has to be state of the art. Imperfection isn't an option, let alone failure. Your brush is suddenly heavier, your movements aren't as free and expressive as they usually are, and to be fair, it just doesn't feel right. But you continue, nonetheless. Restless and relentless. Your own self-induced pressure is breaking you. You are a mess to look at. You're like a brand new car rushing towards a concrete wall and refusing to use the brakes. But you're only human. You will slow down one way or another. So which one will it be to you? The burnout or the different pacing? Having a burning passion should help you reach the top of your art, and sometimes taking a break can be beneficial. The sun is good for your crops, but too much of it will burn it to the ground. Let's talk about another example now. How can I sum this up? I'll give it a shot. If Pavlov's dogs knew they were being conditioned, that wouldn't stop them from being conditioned. Let me explain myself. Let's talk about conditional love, because it's one hell of a drug and it works only because our brain is made as it is. Let me tell you a story. Let's imagine Nicholas, 28 years old, that is really good at skiing. But how is he good at skiing, you may ask? Meet his mom. She used to be a great skier, but she had that terrible accident in '94 that forced her to stop her career. But her luck will turn in '99 because her special little prince was born. He learned how to ski before even being able to walk, or at least that's what his family says. He's so gifted for this, he trained hard enough to be that good, and there is no room for doubt. He will win the race because he doesn't have any other choice. His mom would be so proud of him, after everything she sacrificed for him, after all the training she put him through. It's as much her victory as it is his. But he didn't. He got second place. 0.06 seconds determined his fate, and today wasn't his day. Oh, but he isn't scared. He's terrified. Not from his current state, but from what will await him once he crosses his mom's eyes. The disgust, the pity in her eyes will prevent him from sleeping for the next day. The ever-remaining silence on her lips will bake him slowly, and no amount of apologies will ever remote that bitter taste in her mouth. So he does the only thing that he knows what to do. He trains day and night until the next competition, and this time will be different. This time he got something else to fuel himself. This time he got that disgust that he has for himself to fuel. This time was indeed different. He finished first, but something else changed. He didn't feel it this time. He didn't feel the rush. He didn't feel the pride of putting a smile on his mother's face. It was just him having people being happy for him, around him, while he was dead inside. He doesn't care anymore. Nothing makes sense and nothing matters. And this situation is going to change, either by dialogue or by force. The roots of your passions can be rotten, and you can either salvage the remaining parts of it or you can let it die. Passions too have life cycles, and like a gardener, you are all allowed to make them flourish, to let them fade away, or to follow your field for some future activities. And as the little girl had to run away, because she was ashamed of the little mistakes she made. You decide to go and have a little chat with her and her mother. She just made you 30 years younger with a single song, and you wanted to make sure that that spark that she had will never ever fade away, while giving her a lifelong memory. The day she made an old geezer emotional in a train station thanks to her art. Caring is sharing, and it's especially true when it comes to passion. If you're able to give that extra push to someone struggling, then you're helping two people at once. Thanks for listening to this podcast. This is the 6th episode, I think, of Lost in Your 20s, and I haven't been active recently. I am so very sorry for that. I am tired and burned out. But I'll do my best to be more present.